The broadcast is live. All right. So apparently, as I was reading through and watching this morning's kickoff session live on the fly with Mike and Ty, I am the rookie for this Hobbypalooza lineup today. I believe there's another one tomorrow. It might be another one today, but welcome everybody to my 1 hour slot here on this year's Hobbypalooza. I can't tell you guys how much of an honor it is to have the folks at Bench Clear reach out to me and decide that they wanted to give me some time to talk to you guys about my little space of what I like to collect, what I like to talk about on my YouTube channel, which, by the way, if you have not had a chance to check me out, if you're just joining for the first time and you have no idea who this guy is, my name is Omar. I'm from Retro Hoop Collectibles, mainly basketball. We do get into a little bit of football from time to time and the occasional oddball thing. I'm a degenerate collector just in general. So I tend to bring some little tidbits here and there, but it's mainly basketball. And I primarily enjoy the early to mid 90s basketball, kind of the space there, that time frame. So I'm a big Houston Rockets fan. My boys just did amazing in the draft, by the way. It was awesome. We picked up what I think to be the best player out of that 3-man rotation for 1, 2, and 3. So I'm very excited about my Rockets' future. I was 10 or 11 years old when we won our first championship and then the second back-to-back championship. So a lot of my love for the hobby of collecting cards has come from that era. My favorite player of all time is, aside from Michael Jordan, we all know he's the GOAT. But aside from that, Hakeem Olajuwon is the number one guy that I love. And then after that, it's Penny Hardaway and Shawn Kemp. Those are the guys that I grew up watching and was completely in awe of, along with everybody within that era. I think that was probably one of the best eras in basketball. But that's who I am. That's what I collect. That's what I do. That's mainly what my channel is about. I do a lot of kind of hobby news and stuff like that. I'm really big on the grading side of things. I have a very long supply chain and manufacturing background, so I tend to break down some of the goings on in the hobby from that perspective and kind of give my insight on what I think on things that come up like that. So if you think you'd like that kind of content, please come on over. I'll post everything. I think we're gonna pin everything up at the top here in a little bit, but you guys, I would love for y'all to come over, check out a few of the videos. If you dig it, hit the subscribe button. Y'all know how all that goes. So I wanted to, before we get into a whole bunch of the things here, mention a couple of things for Hobbypalooza. So they are doing a giveaway. They're giving away some Panini product that they will be doing the getting the sweepstake winners and choosing the winners on the next On the Fly with Mike and Ty. And the way that you enter is by doing a super chat in the chat anytime during Hobbypalooza or in any of the Hobbypalooza live streams that happen throughout the day today as well as tomorrow. And you can just log on and jump in there, give a comment, give a super chat, and then you'll be entered into the giveaway. So the way it's going to go is for every $5 that you enter into the super chat, you get one entry. $20 super chat will get you 5 entries. $50 super chat will get you 15 entries, and then $100 super chat will get you 40 entries. Now that money is being raised for a really good cause. Let me get you the information on that. Signatures for Soldiers. I think regardless of what your political affiliation is, I think we can all agree that's a very worthy cause to send that money to. So it is going to that. Majority of it is going to that cause. So if you guys are in the chat and you want to participate in that giveaway, that's how you do that. So, and again, just thank you to the folks at Bench Clear Media for kind of giving me a little spot here to kind of bring you guys into what I do, bring you guys into my world. And the main thing that I want to talk about is, right now there's a lot going on in the modern side of things with collecting. Some people think that, well, there's some overprinting going on. Maybe there's, like too many inserts and all this other stuff. And believe me, I'm kind of that opinion myself, especially after buying some Prism football and noticing that there was like a 400 card checklist, which is kind of tough. Um, and then also all the parallels that there is. Now, I mentioned to you guys that I'm a bit of a degenerate collector. So when I find out that there is something out there that has multiple parallels or multiple iterations of the exact same card, um, my initial inclination is to jump in there and collect them all. I just have to do it. Um, and as somebody who's doing a rainbow chase for the 2019-2020 Prism for Hakeem Olajuwon, I'm almost done. I only got like 3 or 4 cards left. I understand how at some point that can become too much. And so one of the things that I really like about vintage so much, or I mean, I can't even really call it vintage, like late 90s, mid to late 90s basketball cards, is the insert sets in those were some of the most amazing cards that I grew up collecting as a young kid that I didn't really hold on to throughout the years. I probably stopped collecting right around, I'd say about 7th grade or 8th grade, right around there is kind of when I stopped collecting. So I had about a good 3 or 4 years of like really strong basketball card collecting. And it was about that 94, 95, 96 timeframe. And it slowly dropped off after I realized that girls were pretty, and then I just went somewhere else. So, but even though during that time frame there was a lot of really nice insert sets, and I think, you know, aside from the large checklists in what is normally considered to be junk wax era, uh, the parallels are some of the insert sets are probably some of the best basketball cards out there to be picked up during that time frame. So we're gonna go through a little bit through a few of my favorite ones that I have, because I think those are kind of the cornerstone of what I collect. I like to collect, you know, obviously the 90s inserts. I've done the, aside from the 86 Fleer, the 87 Fleer, and the 88 Fleer, because that would cost an absolute arm and a leg. I have a full set of 89-90 Fleer, the full checklist, 90-91 Fleer, 91-92 Fleer. I have those complete sets. A full set of 90-91 Skybox. I have the full set. So I'm trying to work on full sets from that era that was my favorite time when I was a kid collecting. And as I'm getting into the 92, 93, the 93, 94, some of those sets not only have the normal checklist, but they also have these amazing parallel sets. And so we're going to get into a few of those here in a little bit. I want to thank Richard for the super chat. Thank you. I appreciate that. Glad you're talking 90s today. Looking forward to it. Appreciate that, Richard. Let's see what we got in the chat here. Bill, the Hall of Fame collector. I'm a huge 90s baseball rare insert guy. So me and this guy must speak the same language. The best era ever. True rarity and amazing players. Yeah, we're going to get into a little bit of that. I think one of the big things that I want to talk about also, I know rarity a lot of times these days is really just dependent on the serial number, right? And how cards are, you know, obviously the most coveted being the one of ones, things that are only, there's only one copy of them out there, one of fives, one of tens, you know, the golds and things like that. In the 90s, a lot of that stuff, really serial numbered cards didn't really come around until like around 90, I'd say about 96, 97, I'd say somewhere around that time, I believe, with, you know, once the PMGs kind of got into the mix. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, we'll get into that in a second. But prior to actual serial numbers, a lot of the packs rarities were dependent on how, you know, what the odds were of you getting one per pack. And so it would, you know, some of the more rare ones that I'm going to talk about today were, you know, 1 in every 288 packs, or, you know, it'd be, you know, and typically packs were maybe 36 per box, something like that. And so you would literally have to buy a case or maybe even 2 cases to even, you know, possibly hit one of those cards. And so we'll go through a little bit of that. I do have a screen that I'm going to pull up with some information, and we'll kind of walk and talk through that. But I think a lot of that is what I like so much about the insert sets from the 90s. And so we'll get into a little bit of that. Game Time Gallery. Appreciate you doing the PSA backlog analysis this year. Gave a lot of insight to what PSA refused to give. Thank you for that, Game Time. Yeah, that was something that, again, part of my supply chain mind, as well as like my manufacturing mind, That's what I do that's my day job. That's what pays for all of this nonsense that you see behind me. Really just kind of set in, and I took advantage of some of the information that PSA gives out there, and put together kind of like a weekly update on how many cards PSA was grading. I think when I started doing that, I'd say about a year ago, they were doing maybe 100,000 a week. Now they're all the way up to 250,000 a week. And I've got plenty of content on that on my channel if you guys want to check that out. I was doing weekly updates. I don't do them anymore just because I kind of feel like we've gotten to a point to where we're going to kind of come out of this big influx of PSA backlog. So thank you for that. I appreciate that comment. So let's get into the screen and take a look at some of my favorite insert sets, and we'll start kind of chronologically a little bit. So my very first experience with insert sets was in the 1993-1994 Flair Ultra set. Now, to those of you who were basketball collectors during that time, you'll understand this set is probably one of the first sets that had the heaviest in terms of inserts. And so my favorite set of all time, regardless of years, even current basketball year, is the Power in the Key set. This was for me as a 10, 11, 12-year-old, really seeing cards that weren't, your basic, checklist type cards. This was something special. This was something different. And I'll never forget the first insert that I ever pulled was an Oliver Miller Power in the Key when I bought a pack of 93-94 Flair Series 1. And that kind of kicked off my love for all of the, kind of basketball insert sets. And so the other thing I like about them is that, aside from obviously the unicorn type of stuff, or not even really unicorn because they were pretty heavily printed, Michael Jordan, once you get your hands on a decent condition Michael Jordan card, the rest of the set just becomes really easy to collect, and you can actually complete a set, right? So if you get a little bit of OCD like I do and you want to complete the whole set, once you get the Jordans, the Kobes, those types of big ticket players, it becomes really easy to put the rest of the set together. And so, I mean, the 93-94 Flair Ultra Power in the Key set only has 9 cards in it, right? And a couple of them are not very big names. I mean, they're big names now, but you think about Otis Thorpe and Oliver Miller. They're part of this Power in the Key set, as well as Otis Thorpe being a Rocket. That was a big plus for me, right? He was with my Rockets during the years that they won the championships. Obviously, my favorite card in this entire set is the Hakeem Olajuwon Power in the Key. That was the first card when I got back into collecting, and I wanted to get that, and I wanted to get it in a pretty decent grade. So Larry Johnson, Michael Jordan, not very many cards in this set, right? If you're from that era, you know who Grandmama was. Pretty big personality back then for the Converse commercials. Obviously, the grail to get out of this set is the Michael Jordan set. And then Karl Malone. Yeah. As a Houston Rockets fan, not really a big fan of Karl Malone and the Utah Jazz, but this was, again, Oliver Miller holds a special place in my heart because it was the first card I ever pulled out of a pack that was not that was an insert card. So a little bit of nostalgia there for me on that one. Big Zoe, Alonzo Mourning with the Charlotte Hornets. If you grew up in the 90s and you were kind of a inner city hip hop kid, I'm from the hood. That's where I grew up. So, the biggest thing to have in the world was a Charlotte Hornets starter jacket. It was the best. If you had one of those, you were just the man. So, and then of course, Hakeem Olajuwon, number 6, number 7, Big Shaq Diesel. How do you not put Shaq in a Power in the Key set? So that was pretty dope. And then Otis Thorpe, and then finally ending up with Chris Webber. So again, a very easy set to collect. Not very many cards in the set. So if you and once you get them in your hands, they're pretty good looking cards. They're all very foil heavy fronts. So they are very condition sensitive, and finding them in really good condition to where they aren't all chipped up is pretty tough to do. So this is by far my favorite set in the whole world. And then I'll bring you guys up another set within this 93-94 Flair Ultra parallel that is also one of my favorites. And that's that famous nicknames. And the reason why I like this set so much is obvious. one of the things that I thought was really funny is that this is a little bit bigger checklist for this insert set, but it's still pretty jam packed. So Charles Barkley, obviously, his nickname being Sir Charles, so that's pretty dope. I mean, obviously, everybody knows that. I don't know if you guys, those of you who grew up in that era, will remember the degree commercials. Anything else would be uncivilized, that kind of thing. So that was pretty cool. Muggsy Bogues. I don't think I knew Muggsy's real name was Tyrone Bogues until probably as I got like later on in adulthood. I always just referred to him as Muggsy. So Derek Coleman, his nickname was DC. Fun fact on Derek Coleman, the first jersey that I ever bought as a kid, I didn't even care what team it was, what player it was. I just wanted an NBA jersey. The first one that I ever got my hands on was a Derek Coleman Nets jersey. So thank you to that 70s card show for the super chat, man. I appreciate that. Thanks a lot for that. So we'll move on to Clyde the Glide Drexler. Again, another player that was very close to my heart because he did help my Rockets win that second championship. Penny Hardaway. Now, I told you guys earlier, my favorite player is Hakeem Olajuwon. Second favorite was Penny Hardaway. So you can imagine my heartbreak during the second championship run that we had, where we had to sweep what was then my favorite player of all time, LJ with Larry Johnson. And of course, one of the most coveted card in that set is the Air Jordan Michael Jordan set, Michael Jordan card. Now, this particular set, it doesn't have a whole lot of condition sensitive like the Power in the Key set, because the Power in the Key set is all foil front. These are a little bit tougher. What you're going to run into with these, if you're buying new boxes, is you're going to run into a lot of bricking issues. And to those of you who are familiar with that, it's just when the cards get stuck together, being packaged up for too long. And as you're opening them up and peeling them away, they kind of lose chunks to one another. So that's kind of the big issue there. But a good graded card out of this set like this is, it's going to run you pretty good money. But if you're looking for the raw sets, they're once again pretty easy to put together once you get past the Michael Jordan one. So again, it just has everybody's nicknames on here. Tony Kukoc, the Pink Panther. I never knew that they called him the Pink Panther until this set. The Mailman was obvious because, that's who my Rockets played day in and day out. This one is the one that I thought was the funniest. Harold Miner, if you know, Harold Miner was drafted to the Heat, and he originally got that nickname of Baby Jordan because he was supposed to be the second coming of Michael Jordan. And that didn't work out too well for him. I kind of feel like the name really put a lot of pressure on him, and that just wasn't that good. But I would have been upset if I was Harold Miner and somebody put me on here as Baby Jordan. I really don't know how he felt about being given that nickname, but Big Zoe and Alonzo Mourning. And then the Dream, obviously, is another one of my favorites out of that set. Shaq Diesel, Shaquille O'Neal. Pretty good there. The Admiral, David Robinson. For those of y'all that don't know, David Robinson was in the Navy. He was an admiral in the Navy. So he got that well-deserved nickname there. And then the Human highlight film. I thought that one was cool. Dominique Wilkins. So again, pretty easy set to put together once you get past the Jordan, and maybe even I'd say once you get past the Jordan and then Shaq, and then maybe even Penny. Those will be probably the ones that are going to cost you a little bit of money. But once again, once you have that set, once you have them all together, they look so amazing. And again, just another one of my favorite sets there. So Dunbar. So the 70s card show, Dunbar High, where Bogues went, spit some players out. Dunbar High. I might have to take a look at that. I have to take a look and see who all came out of that Dunbar High. I'm assuming that's the high school he went to. Same thing happened to my brother. He was just yeah. So I mean, just that entire year from about 92, 93, Shaq kind of kicked that whole thing off. Drafted 92, 93, and then 93, 94. Penny Hardaway came in right after that, and from there it was just like a string of just really good basketball, in my opinion. So that's my favorite era to watch. I mean, you could still go back and pull up some really good highlights from that entire series. So that entire set of time for basketball. So it was pretty good. Then we start getting into some of the bigger sets with Skybox. Okay. Skybox kind of came in. I really feel like Skybox was really trying to lean more towards the insert side. and really playing with that from they were really pushing the envelope from the insert sides. One of the first sets that came out that I remember pretty heavily was 94-95 Skybox Emotions set, which had the Intense set. And if you ever get your hands on one of these cards, the thing that's going to hit you immediately is just kind of like this Willy Wonka golden ticket bar of gold kind of feel that you get from this set. And once again, an amazing set if you can put the whole thing together. And once you get past the Michael Jordan, which raw prices are going to be somewhere around the $30-$40 range. I think it's last time I looked at them. But these pictures just simply don't do them any justice. I wish I had a great. I think I do have a graded Elijah one, but I probably should have had that one ready to go. Let me see. I might be able to find it real quick because I don't think these pictures actually do it any. Look at that. It's right here. These pictures don't do it any justice. I mean, the way this thing shimmers, it really is like Willy Wonka-esque with the golden ticket, bar of gold type of thing. Obviously, I haven't collected the whole set yet. I still got to find a good copy of the Jordan, but just the shimmer behind it, it's a really, really impressive card when you think about the fact that it came out 94-95. So a really easy set to put together once again once you get past this initial Jordan. And it's a relatively small set. It's only 10 cards in the insert set. But again, if you're, for example, I'm a Sean Kemp guy, so I have Elijah Kemp, and I think I have the Charles Barkley one. But there isn't really a whole lot to put together after that. Once you get that Jordan, that's really the one that's going to cost you the money. And then as far as condition sensitive and things like that, there really isn't too many attributes within the card that's going to make it condition sensitive. They're actually pretty decent card stock compared to anything else that was coming out during that time. And then also having some pretty decent printing on the front with the foil. It was pretty sturdy. So there should be some pretty good examples out there for you guys to go pick up if you do want to chase a set like this. You'll notice that the 1 in 18, you would get one for every 18 packs. And I think it was 36 packs per box. So you were getting 2 per box is what kind of it panned out to. So not a very rare set, but just once you get your hands on it, you'll really see how impressive the set was. Again, some of the notable ones you guys just saw, the Elijah one that I pulled up there. The Jordan one is obviously kind of one of the bigger ones out of that set. And then the Sean Kemp one. Just awesome action shots, for this kind of stuff. What's funny is that Panini just released a set called Photogenic or something about photos, where the main focus of that set was to really highlight the photography behind some of these cards. And once again, another one of the things that I really like about 90s basketball cards, mid to late 90s basketball cards, is that they really used a lot of the photography, action shots like this one. I think there's another one where, Jordan driving to the paint, or no, actually he was making a pass there. There was one where he was driving to the paint, just really good action shots. Big Zoe getting a rebound. They really didn't have, they had a little bit of Photoshop technology back then, but just not, it wasn't like it is today, where they can, take a guy's practice squad jersey and put him in a pro jersey. They were out there taking real photographs and using them directly onto the cards. And so just, it's one of those little small things that really make, that era of basketball and collecting basketball cards really fun. So yeah, Lou Rock says, great. I'm trying to save money before the National. This era of basketball was my childhood. Great cards and inserts at this time. Yeah, just there. I'm 38. I just turned 38 a couple months ago. So I was 10, 11, 12 during this time. And just it just really brings back a lot of good memories when you're collecting. My mom taking me to the grocery store. There was a guy that had a little shop in there, and that's how he would sell. He had a little LCS in there. Obviously, during the time it was a boom. And I remember just begging my mom for a couple bucks and going down there and getting a pack or two and coming back and and having some fun ripping. But again, insert sets during this time frame are just, I mean, they're insane. Um, which brings me into Flair Metal. Now, this is probably one of the better, I think, overall sets, even through the years, right? Because 95, 96 first year, and then 96, 97, 97, 98, some of the most iconic cards, and then ultimately getting into the PMG cards. So Flair Metal was probably one of the best, I would say, even checklist sets, because it was a specialty set. It was like a hobby set, and it really had a lot of good quality cards, very foil heavy, just beautiful, beautiful cards. I would even go as far as to say, so I'm showing you guys the molten metal here, but we'll jump back here to just the overall set itself. I mean, just beautiful all foil cards, that you just, I mean, at that time, foil cards were really reserved for insert sets. And when Flair Metal finally came out, the entire set was like that. I mean, every card was a foil card. And then they were very heavy on the inserts. So the cool thing that's exciting about that is that if the regular set is foil, like, what's the inserts going to look like? And they didn't disappoint. Molten metal, here's the pack odds again. You would get one in every 72 cards, and usually each box had maybe about 36 packs. So you were only getting one molten metal for every 2 boxes of cards. Now, back then, I don't know if you guys, it may just be me, but back then I was buying a pack or 2 at a time. And so when you would hit one of these, it was really, really special. People weren't buying hobby boxes like that. It was really geared towards kind of the younger kids and things like that. And so they were really selling them a pack at a time. There really was no box sales going on back then. And so, there was just, at that time, there was so much, so much, it was so much more special to pull a card back then, because you bought one pack for a couple bucks. And if you hit something that was as rare as one in every 72 packs, you got really lucky, because Lord knows how many packs went before or went after. You're the one that hit it, right? And so it just makes these insert sets that much more special. So again, relatively small checklist on this one, right? The molten metal. As we get into the molten metal stuff, things start to get a little pricier even now, right? Even now, it's still kind of hard to put these sets together, finding decent quality or decent condition cards, because again, these were very heavy foil fronts, and foil tends to chip a little bit. So chipping is a really big issue with all these cards. But again, the very first thing that kicks off was my man Penny Hardaway, and just again the backgrounds, the foil, the way the foil was put together, the colors. These pictures just simply don't do it justice. But again, not a very big set to put together. Some very big names: Grant Hill, Robert Horry. Which, let me tell you guys something. Robert Horry is probably one of the most underrated basketball players in the league of the NBA of all time. Just go and figure out how many rings. Nope, we're back. Okay, cool. Yeah, you guys go check out Robert Horry, and tell me that Big Shot Bob is not one of the best basketball players to ever play the game. He wasn't really a starter. He wasn't a superstar, but he was a consummate role player. He played his role, and he did what he does best, which is hit clutch shots in clutch moments. And that's the reason they call him Big Shot Bob. Just go back and do your research on that guy. I love Robert Horry. He is a staple here in the city of Houston. Everybody loves him in the city of Houston. He never pays for a drink. I don't know. I just, as a kid, he was one of the best ever. I remember he came to our elementary school, literally sat there for hours and signed autographs for all the kids. It was the best. But anyway, do your research on Big Shot Bob, and come back and tell me that he's not one of the most underrated basketball players during that time frame. So, but again, this molten set, really beautiful cards, beautiful set, really well thought out. It's kind of based on molten lava in the background, and as you're looking at the card and move it around, it kind of has like this like shimmer effect that makes the lava look like it's coming down. just an amazing set. So you guys definitely need to check this one out. And again, small set. Once you get past, I would say, once you get past the Penny Hardaway, if you can get your hands on a Penny Hardaway, everything else is relatively cheap to get your hands on. And guys, I'm not those of you who are familiar with my channel, y'all know my rule. I don't spend more than $100 at a time buying a card. It's just my nature. That's just how I am. I don't really blow big money on cards, right? And so these kinds of sets are just the best to collect when you're on a small budget, but you have a real passion for the time frame of basketball. Between the 90s, and you remember some of these guys. You remember the Jamal Mashburns, the Tony Kukoc, the Glenn Robinsons, Big Dog Glenn Robb. I mean, those guys for me were basketball back then. And so now, as I'm a little older, a little more discretionary income, $100 could put together a nice set like this. Maybe even to the 150s. But if you spread it out over a little bit of time and really put this set together, really curate some good condition cards, they're just awesome when it comes to having them, displaying them, talking about them. So it's what drives a lot of what I love to collect. And so keeping in that, Skybox, one of the best sets that I think, and this was one of the first times that I ever saw a die cut set, is the Big Man on Court. So Skybox Z-Force, Skybox really stepped it up. And again, I mentioned to you guys that Skybox, in my opinion, was really the company that stepped into that space and really started experimenting with designs and technology, and really was really pushing the envelope of design. They got sued a couple of times because they really didn't put together. They were putting together some really clever stuff that kind of borderlined on copyright infringement. I got a couple of videos on that on my channel if you guys want to go check those out. But one of my favorite sets, and this is again, as we're getting closer and closer to, this is now Kobe Bryant's rookie year, 96, 97. No, sorry, 97, 98. As we get into those years, this is where things kind of start to get expensive for a guy like me, right? But it doesn't take away from the fact that these cards are beautiful. So Big Man on Court, kind of a play on Big Man on Campus. Again, small checklist, only 10 cards. Once again, the big one that you're gonna have to get over, the Michael Jordan Big Man on Court. But these were die cut cards, kind of action shot type stuff. But really, the entire background, there was no court, there was no audience, there was no crowd, nothing like that. But just the way that they're kind of pushing the envelope on the design, kind of big wording, graphics on the background, kind of graffiti-esque type aesthetic to it, was something that just wasn't being done back then. And so these sets are really interesting. I like the fact that the Charles Barkley that's in this set is when he was with my Rockets. Unfortunately, we didn't get Big Chuck a championship, but it kind of is what it is. But and again, very, very condition sensitive cards because of the die cut. Those of you that collect, y'all know how that goes, right? The die cuts are always a pain. It's just basically having more corners to deal with, right? In a square card, you got 4 corners. In a die cut card, there's just there's no telling how many edges that you can bump and ding and all that other stuff. So, but again, one of my favorite sets, the Big Man on Court. I could have sworn this was a Kobe set. I guess not, or it might have been the following year because Shaq was already there. So here's the Shaq Big Man on Court. Already with the Lakers. This is the 97, 98. Let me correct myself. By the way, guys, those of y'all who are familiar with my channel, I am not afraid to be wrong, and I will correct myself time and time again. Big Man on Court. Yeah, so this was so Kobe's Big Man on Court. Okay, it's a different year. That's right. Parallel sets. Anyway, again, 10 cards. Once you get past the Jordan, relatively cheap, relatively easy to put together. Sports card Detour. Thanks for the super chat, man. I appreciate that. Just for the Robert Ory mention, I appreciate that. Doing the super chat for the Big Shot Bob mention. Yeah, man, it's I'm really big on Big Shot Bob, and Robert Ory is really cheap to buy. I mean, I think I picked up some National Treasure autograph Big Shot Bob for like $20, $30, $40. I mean, they're super cheap. But down to the last couple of sets. And this one overall. So this is 97, 98 Flair Metal. So I talked to you guys about Flair Metal earlier, the inaugural set, 95, 96. This is now 2 years removed on the Flair Metal set. 97, 98 was probably one of the best looking base cards that there were out there. Here's a Kimalajuan. So if we could jump off the screen for a sec, Mike. Here's a Kimalajuan. Look, this is the base card from that set. And it's just the most beautiful foil that you will ever see. And the reason why I'm showing you guys this is because these pictures are just not going to do it justice. But this is the base card. Okay, the base cards look like this. Now, if you're brave enough to go and try to put together the whole base set, we'll look and see what the checklist is here in a second. But I mean, the fact of the matter is that these base cards for Flair Metal were some of the prettiest cards. And in my opinion, one of the best looking Jordan cards is in this set, and we'll get to it in a second. But I really just wanted to kind of show you guys. Look at the shimmer and the shine on this. You just don't see this anymore. They're just not printing cards like this anymore. And there was a lot of thought. Look at the Flair Metal. This is the year that we started getting into the PMGs and the stuff like that. And I'll show you guys all that stuff in a second. But I mean, guys, it just doesn't get any better than this. This is a base card, not even an insert, just the base. So I wanted to just kind of show you guys that, and we'll jump back over to the screen. But I mean, this is one of the reasons why I love this era so much, is because I feel, and I think somebody mentioned it in the comments as well, they just put a lot of effort into the design and really weren't worried about maybe cranking out in mass productions or putting out product after product after product. They just were really focused on making that product the best it could be with insert sets and things like that. So it was always the best. And that's why, as I'm showing you guys kind of the details of this 97, 98 Flair Metal set, I didn't immediately bring up a specific insert, because I feel like this 97, 98 Flair Metal set, Metal Universe, is probably my favorite overall set of all time. If I had money, or if money was not an object and somebody said, hey, what box would you buy? One box, if you could rip one box of product, what would it be? It would definitely be 97, 98 Flair Metal Universe. Just one of the most iconic sets out there. And again, if I click on the Hall of Famers and look at the Michael Jordan card, it's probably one of my favorite action shots of Jordan as he's flying through the air. Clearly a dunk. You know, he's about to mash on somebody, but the ball is on fire. He's in the middle of the universe. He's out in space floating around, and he's about to just eradicate somebody. But again, the idea about this is that, it's such an iconic picture, an iconic card. And then we go into this whole idea of, this is kind of where they start to get into the serial numbers and things like that. Can you bring that back up, Mike? Do you think the massive amount of competition among the companies drove innovation? Absolutely. That is absolutely what drove the innovation. I think a lot of it has to do with, when you have I don't want to say monopoly, but when you have kind of like a stranglehold on all the licensing and all that stuff, you guys got to remember, during this time, the NBA licensed out to Flair, licensed out to Topps, licensed out to Skybox, licensed out to Stadium Club, licensed out to, there was so many people had the license to make cards. It wasn't an exclusive license to any particular maker. And that drove a lot of the innovation. It drove a lot of the competition, and it really pushed the envelope of not only the cards, but the designs. And I feel like every company just wanted to put out the best set possible, the best product possible. And that drove a lot of what we have now with these sets that were, relics of the past, but they're just beautiful cards. So a pretty big checklist on this one. I think it was like 125. Yeah, 125 cards overall with 2 checklists in them. And again, just like I showed you guys that Elijah, all of them look like that. They're all foil heavy on the front. And just even the base sets are beautiful in my opinion. But if we get into some of these insert sets, and I want you guys to remember the pack odds, right? 1 in every so many packs. Platinum portraits, okay? platinum portraits, one in every 288 packs. Okay, 288 packs. So once again, once you get past the Jordan, once you get past the Kobe, maybe even once you get past the Shaq, you got a 15 card insert set. And they're just beautiful cards. This one in particular, I really like because as you're looking at this card, you can't tell, but it was laser cut. And I am not prepared, but I think I might be able to find my Elijah one. But they were laser cut. These cards were laser cut. And that's how they got the picture. For example, in this one, they got the picture of Jordan in there. They were all laser cut, and you could not. Let me see. I have one because I want you guys to see what it looks like when you put like a flashlight behind it or something. It's crazy. And once again, we're talking about this type of manufacturing technology in, what is this, 98, 97, 98? And aside from die cuts, I mean, it was the next, it was a crazy thing to see that in a basketball product. You just didn't get that in a basketball product, or even in a collector's product. Nobody was putting money into laser cutting basketball cards back then. I mean, they were die cutting, sure, but to make the entire image of the player by laser etching was something that was just crazy. Pepino Man knows what's up. Metal cards were super sick and shiny. I mean, just imagine you're a kid and you pull something like that, and all of a sudden you're holding on to something special that you wouldn't have gotten in 288 packs. I can't find my Elijah one. I had an Elijah one that I wanted to show you guys because it's insane, but we'll get to it another day. I'm pretty sure I'll find it on my channel, and I think I've shown it on my channel before. But anyhow, if you guys could see my desk and what this looks like, you guys would be like, "Oh, he's a collector. This guy's a borderline hoarder." Because I guess technically I am. Now I'm trying to think. I might have gotten it graded. But anyway, I mean, back to the question, right? About, do I think that this was innovating? Like the fact that I mean, nobody's gonna push the envelope like that. Nobody's gonna start branching out. I really wanted to show you guys that card, but I don't have it on hand. But anyhow, each one of these little individual dots that you see right here was a laser cutting a hole in the card. And that's how they made his image. And that's probably the reason why there were one in every 288 packs. So that's the last one I had for you guys. Oh, sorry. My bad. Precious metal gems. Now, I know we've been talking about pack odds here recently, and so that's kind of what dictated what was rare and what wasn't rare. 97, 98, precious metal gems. I mean, let me see if I can pull up the Jordan. All red. There was two sets. It was reds and greens. But the first time, you guys will notice now, it's 95 out of 100. So it's kind of the first time that they were starting to serial number cards, really, really like low print runs, low production runs. And again, if you buy a box of Flair Metal, you could potentially get a PMG. And there's only 100 of them that were printed. So the pack odd is no longer, it doesn't make sense anymore. It's now about whether or not you got, one of the 100s that were randomly inserted into the correlator. So, man, these are fetching six figures plus. I mean, mid six figures. I think these Jordan ones. I don't think they've hit the millions yet. But there's two sets of them. There's a red PMG and a green PMG, numbered to 100. Let me see. Is it Jordan? They got the Jordan. Yeah, they got the Jordan. Yeah. So again, same design, same everything. It's just a completely flooded out background. And then as that kind of debuted, at that point is kind of where we've begun this whole era of like serial numbered cards, and then things like that. And so at that point, pack odds really didn't matter, and it was just about whether or not you got a low numbered serialized card, which is kind of what we're in now. So that's it. that's what I wanted to share with you guys. I'm really glad that I got an opportunity to join Hobbypalooza this year. I'm really campaigning. The first 10 are green, the last 90 are red. Oh, that's how that works. So why is this and this is incorrect then? 0 to 100 only. Oh, that's what this means. Okay. I knew one of them was rarer than the other. I wasn't exactly sure which one. So the first 10, so there's only 10 greens, and then the last 90 are red. So if you get a green one, that's big money, baby. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Shout out to Mike on the board for popping that one up. I would have completely missed that. First 10 are green, the rest are okay. So that's how that works. And they did precious metal gems for when they debuted Marvel as well during that time. So that was pretty dope. But okay, cool. So we'll jump off of here. But again, kind of getting into closing this out. If you haven't already, if you're into the modern cards and you're kind of, even if you're not my age, even if you're younger or whatever, it's really easy to jump on YouTube, do a little bit of research on some of these players, and you'll realize how special that era of basketball really was. The game has changed significantly. If you recently, or, if you're younger than, if you're around the 20, 22, 23-year-old range, and basketball, you've grown up watching basketball, really tap into that era. 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99. That little time frame of basketball was a really, really special time. And it produced a lot of Hall of Fame people that even till this day, some of the younger guys who grew up watching that, or whose dads grew up and whose dads put them onto that era of basketball, was special. And because of that, it produced a lot of special cards, because I think that during that time that basketball was so special. We obviously didn't know at the time how special that era was going to become, especially with the way that the game has changed. And don't get me wrong, I love basketball. I'm a basketball fan first, so I love basketball. Even though this era is not my favorite era of basketball, I still love the game and I still love watching it. But that during that time frame, we didn't know that it was going to be such a special time, a snapshot of time for basketball. And then also you had that time frame where the NBA gave licenses to several companies and they were pushing the envelope of basketball card design. So when you get that, that's a very special like mix that I don't think is really, I don't think it's really prevalent in any other time of any other sport, I would say. I'm not very familiar with baseball cards, but to me, the intersection between the special time of basketball and then also the time in the hobby where the license was plentiful to several companies and they were all pushing the envelope makes for a really good mix, and it makes for a really good time to collect, because the insert sets were amazing and they were of amazing players. So I would urge you, if you have like a special team that you go for, or maybe you do have a memory of a certain player from back then, look them up. They're pretty reasonable in terms of prices. You're not going to pay $15,000-$20,000 like you're going to play for a LeBron refractor or whatever the heck. If it's a player that you really love, like for me, Hakeem Olajuwon, I'll collect anything of Hakeem Olajuwon. And so it makes it really easy because that time frame was really special. The cards were plentiful, but the designs were also beautiful. So it's really, I urge you guys to take a look. If you're a basketball fan, do a little research on that era, find some players that you really like, and start doing some collecting. I always say on the channel, on my channel, I say it all the time: buy the card, not the slab. Collect what you like. Don't collect the hype, and you will never, ever lose value in your collection. Yeah, from a monetary standpoint, you might lose a few bucks because let's face it, we're never going to get our money back. But if you're a true collector and you really like it, I would really encourage you guys to look into this era of basketball. If you really love the game, do a little bit of research, find you some really special players, and have fun with it. Most importantly, have fun with it. And I promise you, it'll pay you back. Maybe not money, but you'll definitely have a blast for sure. So on that note, I am going to, before I go, I do have a quick question. I don't know if there's any Yankee fans in the chat. If there is, I do have a question for y'all. Just a real quick question. Who Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? Because I know who your daddy is. And when your daddy says you get no hits, you get no hits. It's that simple. Oh, I'm going to make some people mad with that one. I'll leave you guys with that. I appreciate you guys so much. Remember, keep checking out all of the Hobbypalooza content. Keep putting in those super chats to enter you guys into the giveaway. Mike and Ty are going to do that poll on Monday. All the links are in the description of this of these chats of the streams. Check them out. Check me out at Retro Hoop Breaks on Instagram, Retro Hoop Collectibles on YouTube. And as I say at the end of all of my videos, I love you guys. Peace.